From this vantage point, it doesn't look like much more than an urban winter landscape. But on closer inspection, nothing, literally nothing, is moving. Here's how it all began. The first flurry started at 7:13 a.m. on Monday, February 6th. Motorists traveling to work were advised to expect about 6 inches of snow. 3 hours later, the snow was falling at the rate of an inch an hour. By rush hour, people began to get the idea that they were in for a doozy.
Luckily, I didn't take 128, and for 4 hours drove the back roads trying to find my way to Dover.
WBZ-TV's Shelby Scott left the station at 6 p.m. that night.
People were spinning off everywhere, and I had a little front-wheel drive car. I got to about a half mile from my home, and I ran into this enormous snowbank. And I thought, oh. And right then a Dover snowplow guy comes by and screams, "Is that you, Shelby?"
Shelby Scott was in luck. Not so some 3,000 cars and 500 trucks on Route 128.
There's an overpass, Route 1 overpass in Dedham. And I got to there, and I looked up 128, and it was like seeing that movie On the Beach. Just cars buried, and it could have been sand, except it was snow and no people.
Snow. The Boston area got a driving 27 to 54 inches, with drifts as high as 15 feet. Wind gusts peaked at 69 miles per hour in Boston and 92 miles per hour in Chatham. And the tides, 16 feet above normal.
Just prior to everything happening, I had been out in my yard and ankle deep in water. Stopped to answer the phone. Next thing I knew, we were up to our knees in the house in water. All around the baseboards of the house and everything, and through the doors and windows, it just came gushing in, as if the whole house was engulfed.
By 9 o'clock Monday night, all of the state's civil defense and emergency operating centers were activated. The Red Cross was setting up emergency shelters. Over the radio, Governor Michael Dukakis declared a state of emergency, and the next morning he implored people to stay home.
All people are to remain in their homes. All people must remain in their homes. Virtually every roadway in this state is impassable by ordinary motor vehicles at the present time.
And indeed, the streets were impassable. Route 128 was a wagon train of entombed cars. Many people simply abandoned their vehicles, but rescue workers peered into windows looking for those who might have stayed put. And there were many.
You seem to be reluctant to leave. Were you having a good time in there?
That was Channel 5 reporter Clark Booth, who ventured outside the Channel 5 studios down to Route 128. Here at WGBH, camera crews trudged into Harvard Square. Not everyone was taking the matter seriously.
Crazy Harvard students.
But what was fun for some people was life-threatening for others. Over 70,000 Boston area residents lost heat and power, and by late Tuesday evening, more than 17,000 people had been taken to area shelters.
Bob, what happened to your apartment?
It was under about, I would say, 3-4 feet of water. When I left, they came by scuba diver to get me out, I would say Monday night, early Tuesday morning. I wound up having to go next door to help a neighbor out, and I walked out of my house, wound up to my shoulders in rather cold water. I took her upstairs into her dryer room, and we waited for scuba divers to come and get us out, lowered her down off the roof onto a boat, and they took us away.
On Tuesday, President Jimmy Carter declared Boston a federal disaster area, and military assistance poured into the region. The Army Corps of Engineers, the National Guard, and 200 soldiers from Fort Bragg.
Where are you from?
California.
Have you ever been out here before?
No, I haven't even been in snow before.
Any idea how long this will take you to get out?
Well, my platoon sergeant said it'd take about 2 or 3 weeks to get everything cleared up in here.
Governor Dukakis and Lieutenant Governor Tommy O'Neill toured the region by helicopter. South past the Sister Corita gas tank, hovering over the pounding waves and getting a bird's eye view of the ocean of stranded vehicles.
Can they get off at the ramps? Are some ramps open?
Yeah, they have some ramps open. Some of them have to go down the northbound lane, go south on the northbound lane.
In the meantime, people had begun to manage any way they could. Transportation was skis and snowshoes. Sleds were loaded to carry groceries or to take luggage to shelters and hotels. Some people actually went to work, and some said it was their duty to go to work.
Somebody had to take care of the sick patients.
Do you live near here? So you
Yes,
can
I
walk?
live over on Beacon Street, so I walked. It took me about 45 minutes from Beacon Street to Mass General.
But whether people went to work or not, everybody seemed to pull together.
The fascinating thing to me that whole time was the spirit of community and neighbors probably who hadn't talked together in years, talking to each other and helping each other out.
And that spirit extended to the attitude of so many people whose homes had been destroyed, ravaged by the proverbial storm of the century.
The prevailing feeling, I would guess, that people were going to rebuild. They're pretty hardy people.
The storm lasted 32 hours and 40 minutes, and when it broke, the count began. 29 deaths, almost 12,000 homes partially or totally destroyed. Damages to state agencies and private property in the hundreds of millions. The first sign that life was back to normal came Friday, February 11th, when postal service resumed.